welcome everybody to Wipster Lunch and Learn. This is the first time we've tried this format out, and basically we're pretty excited about this massive shift in how companies, brands, agencies, production companies, even media companies are producing content in such a different way than they used to. People are consuming content in such a different way, and it's just it creates a lot of opportunities for all of us in this room and ourselves trying to live it by shooting more content and then creating a story for anyone who cares, and that's a big part of it, is making something that people care about. So Roller's going to do a presentation about that. We've got a panel, so we're going to talk to different kind of customers about some of the challenges they're facing, some of the things that are working for them as well. But we'll kick it off and we'll just run through the room really quick. Introduce yourself.
I'm from Shootster, so we help companies actually create content at scale.
I'm Paul, I'm from Southern Cross Stereo. You might know us as 2Day FM or Triple M. We create a lot of radio content and we do a massive amount of digital video content to support that.
Hi, I'm Anastasia. I'm at Southern Cross Stereo with Paul. He's my boss, so I do what he does.
Hi, Carl from Bright Cove. We're an online video platform. We partner with Wipster.
I'm Ezra from 64 Films. We make commercial content, so TVCs through to online social short form to mid form content.
I'm Tom, also from 64 Films, and yeah, doing the same thing as Ezra.
Tristan from BAM Studios. I'm a cinematographer and I work in the arts, corporate and whatnot, and I work with Jeff here from
Sonic Site. We did a lot of corporate productions.
I'm Eden from EP Capital, so we're part of the shopping centre digital and campaigns team.
I'm Jessica, also from AMP Capital. We produce content for 20 of our shopping centres around Australia and New Zealand.
I'm Michael. I was just walking past down on the street starving. So no, I work for Kachin Communications. We do still photography and graphic design.
Hi, I'm Dan from Tyres For You. We produce content to try and, I'm desperately trying to move our company away from motorsport. So,
Taylor from Deloitte Experience Design. We make everything from online videos to experiential video rooms and 360 content.
I'm Gary from Shootster. I work with Chad, only a little bit faster and smarter.
I'm Preeti from Intercontinental Hotels Group. We have about 40 hotels in the region, and we're always looking at how we can improve, and video is one of those ways.
Hi, I'm Aaron from Spatial Media. We do visual communications for government. If you're reviewing this on Wipster, please tell me to change my shirt.
I'm Jared from Spatial Media. I'm a producer, so I do everything that Aaron tells me to.
Hi, I'm Stuart from STEM Media. We're an independent production company servicing government but also big corporates.
I'm Hamish. I work with Carl at Bright Cove, and we help media and brands deliver video.
I'm Joe. I manage a content amplification platform called Spike.
David, I also work for Spike.
Jimmy from Chapter Productions. We do a whole range of, we're a video production company, a whole range of outputs like TVCs, branded content.
I work in marketing and partnerships at Wipster.
Nathan from Wipster. I manage our customer success and support.
I'm Rollo, founder and CEO of Wipster, and we're helping all companies create better content faster.
So the biggest pain point for our organisation is that the majority of our senior management team are old males, about 50, 60, and they have no idea about Facebook, Instagram, let alone video or content production. So our biggest pain point is getting the buy-in from key stakeholders to fund these sorts of things and give us the resources that we need to produce it on a daily, if not weekly, monthly basis.
I would suggest that the reason that people are having trouble breaking into the mass market, getting across the line, is breaking that stereotype of big business telling the consumer what's cool and what's hip. It almost has to come from the ground up, I would say, and not from the top down, where you get people low level, on the ground, day-to-day people that are actively engaging with the customers, and ask them sort of how the customers are feeling, and create your content the bottom up as opposed to being dictated to. I think that there's an adverse reaction whenever a corporate entity now magically has an Instagram page, or they pretend to be really cool and hip, and it comes across as false. So I think if it's done from the ground up, shot sort of handheld, sort of first person perspective, really light and fluffy, I think that's the way to achieve that.
So the biggest pain point that I have, particularly in my role working in digital marketing strategy for SpotCap Australia and New Zealand, is that your style guide in alternative finance lending is typically very much like a bank. So being able to cut through and create it fun but also professional in a way that's also not like a bank, but just making sure that we're unique when there's an absolute saturation of content out there. So one, it's resources, it's your return on investment, and it's also also being able to allocate the right budget to suit your audience.
One of the big challenges I think a lot of businesses have these days with their video production is not so much just the creation of the video, but having a comprehensive strategy about how they're going to distribute it. It breaks my heart when we make videos for clients, and they're great videos, and they think if just putting it on a website is going to do the trick, and then they look at it, a month or so later, and it's had a handful of views. So I'm always talking to my clients these days about making sure you've got a strategy about your distribution before you start the process, because there's no point going through all the creative effort and all the production and all the costs if it's not going to get out into the marketplace.
I mean, I think it's great that you can distribute things to you have so many media platforms that you can go to, but I do think it's too much in the sense that there's not as many clicks anymore because it is going everywhere. More people can share it, so you don't get that full ability of like how many people are seeing it. And I guess if you're a smaller platform, you wouldn't necessarily get the most out of it as you'd want to. So if you're a smaller little business or whatever, you wouldn't get as much unless you were promoting yourself really well on social media. So I think it's good in the sense that it reaches more people, but I also think you can get hidden by how much is coming up so constantly.
The biggest challenge for me in producing mass amounts of content, particularly video content, would be resources. That's both internal resources and having the staff to do it, but also financially. I need to make sure, from my perspective, that we've got a certain level of, economy of scale, and if we're doing it cohesively as part of a strategy, I need to make sure that I can do that in a way that's not going to be incredibly cost prohibitive.
I think one of our pain points being content producers is making sure our clients understand that it's a relationship from start to finish, knowing that we can partner with them from beginning to end to really fulfill their KPIs and their end goals, not just a creative partnership in the middle for the video.
This talk today is about there is a change in the air. So you can see that grass is blowing gently in the wind, but there's a storm coming. And what's happening, and I think a lot of you in this room, because you're feeling it, is that there's a lot of pain happening around content. And what's happening is that content is being consumed at unimaginable speeds, and people are trying to create the content to keep up, and they're trying to compete with each other. But the really interesting thing is that the attention is finite. So the content is becoming infinite almost, like nobody could ever watch all of the content on the internet before they die. But the attention of each person is finite. You have somebody, maybe when they wake up on their phone, you've got them from 6:15 to 6:21, and then they finally get up, you've got them for that moment. But you're competing with every other company in the world to have their attention. And as we know through all the boring stats that keep coming out, video's the most engaging, blah, blah, blah. It's obvious, we all get it, that's an old story now. But what is not obvious is that the content that's working is repetitive, series-based content, and it's consistent. And the buzzword that we're using these days is thread. So if you're not creating a thread, people aren't following along with you, and you lose them. You might do a huge investment, create a piece of content, create a couple of pieces of content, grab them for a moment, just as they're warming up, you have them, you don't release another thing, you lose them, someone else gets them. They've only got that 7-minute window there, they've only got 10 minutes on the bus, they've only got 3 minutes before the child wakes up and ruins the evening. I'm a dad, I understand. And so that is the scary thing that is happening. But the context is this. Here's a bunch of companies, and you'd go, oh, that's a load of product companies, hardware, software, sports, all sorts of things. But what they're actually is media companies now that sell things. They're a media company that sells makeup, a media company that sells bikes, a media company that sells a sugary drink. Probably the most famous of being a media company is Red Bull. I mean, to us it's so ingrained now, it's obvious. But what's not obvious is that all of the other ones are becoming the Red Bull of their area. And the thing about becoming a media company is that so many people are confused by the concept. They go, oh, that just means I need to make a whole lot of content about me, about what I'm up to, about what my company does. And you go, no, that's marketing, that's sales. That's not what people want to watch your stuff for. They want to watch stuff around what you do. So imagine Tesla becoming a media company about the technology of their wheels. You'd get a niche audience of people who are really interested about wheels, and they might decide to buy a Tesla versus someone else because they learned all about wheels. It's not going to work if Tesla wants to win. What Tesla will do and is doing is becoming a storyteller around the joys of the future of what humanity is going to be. I mean, Elon Musk kind of lives it through his Twitter channel. He's already doing homemade videos almost every day, going around the office. But what they'll be doing is creating almost a TV series through multiple channels. The distribution is all over the place. And it'll be about the future of humanity and how we want to live in the future and how we've moved beyond oil and what life will be like and all that stuff. And the key thing there is that their content is going to live as a separate product. And this is a hugely important thing. Tesla's content strategy could be living by itself without Tesla, and it would still be interesting. The fact that Tesla owns it means that you keep watching the content, it keeps saying Tesla in the corner, you keep thinking about Tesla being an innovative company, and you probably buy a Tesla. They get the snowball effect. 20 people start watching, 1 million people, 20 million, it just on it goes. But if they're not consistent with it, they lose them. And then the other company jumps in. Xero is another great example. We've been working with them for a number of years, and they've just clicked onto how to become a content company. They've used their YouTube channel for how-tos, behind the scenes, CEO statements, no thread, nothing really to follow. There's a lot of it, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense when you look at it together. And you go, what's the value to me? It's the value to Xero, but what's the value to me? If I specifically want to know how to click that button, I'll go and watch a how-to video. But I'm not following a thread. That's just, I need to go and eat that piece, and then I'm done. I'm satiated. Xero is going to use their YouTube channel to be how to run your small business, their marketers, SMEs. It's just simply how to run your business. That's it. Nothing to do with how you use accounting software, nothing to do with how you do your accounts. Devoid of all that stuff. Just how do I hire someone? How do I get office space? How do I get a fleet of cars for my bakery? How do I da-da-da? Thousands of videos just about that. They're going to have that as a singular separate product that anyone could have made, but they made it. And because they own the space, because they're a thought leader in that space, because they're helping and they're adding value, everyone probably starts buying the Xero products, not the MYOB or someone else. So that's a really interesting and very key point. And there's a lot of other examples which you can ask any of the team about with all these companies. So all brands are becoming media companies, but also everyone is becoming a media company. This is something that I find really interesting. Each person in here is a producer and a distributor of their own stuff. Pretty much, I would say everyone in here is on Facebook. Unless someone's going to go, no, I'm not on Facebook, I hate it. Of course, Chad does that. An outlier. Chad, get out. So everyone is already distributing their own content. The distribution is completely in our own hands. So if you just think about each person has already got their own audience. It's their friends, it's their family. You get this nice little feeling of payoff when you put something on Facebook and 3 people click like and somebody makes a comment. You feel connected. So each person is becoming a micro media company. They're doing text, they're doing little videos of their kids, they're doing all these things, sending out links so that you get that feedback of, I send out this link, these people agree with me. You get that going on, right? So that's just on a personal level, and then you think about that as a company level. And a company is doing that thing. And so when a company is sharing, that's trying to get this audience to come around them and buy off them and do referrals and everything else, it's the same feedback loop. You put some stuff out, there's feedback, and you iterate with your content with the audience so that it keeps fitting. If you put stuff out and they're not responding, you change. And that's a keyword iteration that we're going to come to. But I think pretty much what everyone in this room would ask me is why? Why should everyone be, or why is everyone becoming a media company? And that's what the shift in the wind is all about, is that attention. All we're trying to get is people's attention, right? The reason why anybody does anything to do with communication is to get the attention of that person so they can hear what they're saying, and then something can change, right? If you got their attention, you said something and then nothing changed, it probably wasn't a very good connection. So you want to connect, truly connect, so they can hear each other, and then you want change to happen. And so this is the key to why people are becoming a media company, is because that's how you get their attention. If you put out the odd tweet or the odd Instagram with just an image of a balloon and it's our birthday and da-da-da, you're getting like a micro moment of their attention, but nothing's changing. They just go, oh, it's your birthday, that's great. Oh, you've just launched this thing, that's great. but nothing is changing. They might be interested that you launch this other thing if they're already a customer, so there might be a retention angle in there, but nothing about new. So the real key thing as to why is everyone becoming a media company is because when you look at the internet and you look at the trends, it started out as a network effect of people sharing words. Then the internet got stronger, and then you could share images. Then the internet got stronger, then you could share videos. And then the internet got stronger, now you can do live videos. And then the internet's going to get stronger, and you're going to do AR and VR, and on it goes. And then everyone's going to have a little camera stuck to their neck, and everyone can see everyone's view all the time. But who's the most interesting person? Who's rolling down a hill? All those things, right? May not happen. But the point is that we're getting to this point where this is the way that you communicate. Everyone in this room probably has customers that are out of your reach within an hour's travel, right? So you probably don't just go and see them. You need to communicate with them in some sort of digital way, or a phone call, or a video chat. But it will be mainly, most of your customers are not in your village. We don't have villages of 128 people anymore. Everyone probably has a customer in a different country in this room, and you'll want to get more customers in that area, and you don't always want to just have to go and fly and spend personal time and fly out and spend personal time. So the point is that all of this audience is capturable, but the way you capture them is by creating a thread, because the world is so noisy, right? So you're on the internet, it's moved to the point of now everyone just wants to consume video, and there's so much of it, we've got finite amount of time, we've got infinite amount of video. If you want to capture them, you play one video, you lose them, and so it's the attention, create the thread. A thread is what a media company does. They make The Simpsons. They don't make one episode of The Simpsons and then everyone talks about The Simpsons for 28 years. They make however many episodes they've made, I don't know what, 7,000? Tons, right? And that's the piece, is that you keep going, and then they sell merchandise and everything else, and there's spin-offs and blah, 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 and there's cash, and it's fantastic. But it's that piece that's how you capture an audience. You get the word of mouth, people want to join in, they want to follow you, and then you keep going, and then you don't have a thread, and then you lose them, and then somebody else gets them. So the key thing about why everyone's becoming a media company is to create a thread, be consistent with content, that it's always coming to something new. Daily vlogging is something that companies are starting to do. We're doing one, so that people can wake up in the morning, there's always something new, they start to trust you, that there's always going to be something new. They're seeing you in the company, they're seeing what's going on just on a personal level, but you're always trying to give them value outside of what your company does. And so that's why they're becoming a media company. Another key piece to why all of us can become a media company, except for the people who are actually media companies in this room, is that it's the distribution has been totally democratized. We don't have to have multi-million-dollar ad spend or multi-million-dollar placement on TV networks. There are no gatekeepers anymore who say, I'll allow you to access my audience if we do this, that, and the other, or you have to get a certain level and then we might bring you in, or we might fund your thing, or da-da-da. That's still there. There's still a whole industry doing that. But remembering that the audience is finite, is that we can capture the audience of someone on YouTube, and it means that they didn't watch Netflix. Like that 7 minutes of attention, you owned it, and Netflix didn't. And Netflix can't get it back because they just spend it with you, right? That's happening right now. You can put it anywhere. The scary thing, and we've been having a few chats in this room already, the scary thing is that people don't know where to put it. So distribution is hard. They don't know where to put it, they don't know who to put it in front of, they don't know how to do the new distribution ad spend to get that stuff seen by the right people. So I think there's a huge pain point in that area, which we're happy to discuss. But the point being is that you can get your phone out of your pocket, you can do a video in this room, like I've just filmed everyone, you can film it in this room and hit publish. And if you've already got a distribution network of people, so we've been talking about having an audience. If you have an audience and they're on your thread, so they expect things from you and they know what your style is and they agree with it and they like it, you can do that thing and it's in front of them. And your instant message of the moment is with those people. I mean, that's kind of incredible that you can just put it in front of them. But the key point that I'm going to keep coming back to is that if you don't have a thread, they're not going to be there to listen, and they're not going to hear your message, because you will have done a bespoke piece every 6 weeks because it's hard and the production level was too high and it was difficult to work with that director because he likes doing music videos, and, so it's super important to just get that thread, which means you have an audience waiting for your stuff. So you are your own distribution company. And it's also highly important to get the ball, we were just talking about that before, get the ball rolling at the start. You might have to do overspend to get the ball going. On Instagram, you might need to overspend to get that first 100, first 200 people who become super fans, who like everything that you do. And by them doing that, it brings in the next 1,000. That brings in the next 10,000. You might need to overspend for the first 3 months. And you might be horrified. And you might not be able to get it past a boss because they go, you want to spend 500 grand on Instagram? Where's the ROI on this? Build a business model on it. So, we've already talked about this. Huge consumption. People are just wanting to eat all the time, but they are completely in control. So if your stuff is boring, it's gone. It's not TV anymore. It's not that you control the channel. You know, it's not where in New Zealand or maybe Australia a few years ago where there's only a handful of channels and you're like channel surfing, oh, I guess I'll just watch this thing. That's completely over. The audience is in complete control, and so you have to do something which hasn't really been done at speed before, which is you need to iterate. So you could just, for example, you could make a video right now of yourself saying something and post it straight to Instagram, and then when there's some response, ask them, was that interesting, and they say, oh, I'd like it if you did this thing, or if you show me the view out the window, or whatever it is, and then you do that, and you see what the response is to that. And you might do that all day, just as an experiment, and you will have iterated maybe 40 videos in one day, to the point where at the end of it, you've got maybe 10 super fans who are absolutely jazzed on what you're doing, and you know exactly what to post the next day. And that's just one small thing, and that's very handmade, and it's very low production value. It's all those things, but it's that idea of you getting into the headspace of the audience and creating your thread. So we'll come back to this group of companies. So these are all customers of ours who are now becoming media companies because they are embracing innovation. You're not going to become a media company if you're just simply thinking about doing it the old way. So you have an editor in a room out the back who's doing some stuff, and then they upload it to, I don't know, Dropbox to share it around, and then some people go, oh, that seems pretty cool, and then you schedule it to go out a week later, and then you forget, and then 2 weeks after that it goes out. 3 people have a look at it, and you're all depressed. What's happening now is that you need to systemize yourself into an amazingly efficient content machine. And that it's very important that you're thinking about it as a content machine, because when you think about machinery, if you go to the Industrial Revolution, the machinery was fine-tuned so that you could just get things out the door at high speed and not think about process. You just think about what you're trying to get out the door. And the more fine-tuned you create yourself as a content machine, the more you're able to produce, which means the more you're able to iterate. And a key thing that I want you to have in your mind as a takeaway is that and I saw it a few times when I was trying to ask people for a soundbite about what's the biggest pain point, is this idea of maybe a bit of fear of being on camera. And then when you unpack the fear of being on camera, it's maybe the fear of being judged, or the fear of what is someone else going to think about me, or it's captured forever, what's going to happen. Is that all of that stuff is a large part that I see of what is holding a company back. They're afraid of what the shareholders are going to think, or, well, I don't know what the ROI is, so we shouldn't try, and so they don't take the first step. So the idea of the iterative process is that it's supposed to reduce the fear and the anxiety. So you just make something, and you put it in front of whoever wants to see it, and you don't care about what happens. You just look for the feedback loop, and then you make the next one, and then you make the next one. And the thing with that is that your fear gets much reduced, and your excitement gets much elevated, because you start to see that it's actually not that scary at all, and that it's absolutely fine, and that people are very open and willing to embrace other people when they share. The more you put the heart on your sleeve, the more somebody will want to reach out to you. The less so. And that ties directly to brands and companies needing to be more authentic and more honest and more open. Otherwise, people aren't going to buy from them. They're going to buy from the company that is. And it's not companies that come out where they're called the honest company, and you're not really sure because it's just their name, right? It's not about that. It's actually being honest. If you make a big mistake in your company, you tell everyone, oh, for God's sake, we made a terrible mistake. This is what happened. This is what we were thinking. Oh, for God's sake, come to this live Facebook video, and we'll talk to you live about it. You know, that type of thing. It's the true honesty of going, we're trying to do this thing. Every company is obviously trying to make a profit, so you don't have to hide away from all that type of thing. All companies are just trying to do their best. It's just a bunch of people trying to do some stuff. And everyone's scared of showing their office. It's not as cool as Google's office. Oh, you can't put me on camera. I'm not as good looking as Brad Pitt. No one cares. Like, no one actually cares. They just go, is that something that is fun for me to watch? Is it something where I'm learning? Is it valuable? Do I get an insight into how that company's working so I can feel like I'm engaged with it, like I'm at one with that company? And that's where the iterative process can really just make that company sing. Is that you reduce the thing, you reduce the pressure on yourself. So, for example, we're doing a daily vlog. We're up to episode 20. And we're going all the way up to 100 before we overanalyze ourselves, just so that it's done. And we're doing, like, sometimes I'm so busy I have to shoot it at home in my office, or I have to shoot it on my bike when I'm biking my kid home, and she's in it talking about the moon and things. And you're just shooting it whenever you can, getting it in front of people, getting feedback, getting viewers. I mean, there's only like 150 people who watch the damn thing every day. But it starts there and you get your super fans. There's people who comment on every single video and they watch the whole thing. They're 15 minutes long a day. And it's that thing of you just do it. And then you see what the feedback is. And before we were doing it, I was kind of afraid of showing the office. Oh, it's not as cool as Google. And I was afraid of, oh, we're going to look dumb. And what about our Kiwi accents for all our American customers? And all that stuff, right? Or our Kiwi accent for all the Australians. Like, I hate it. and as soon as you start, and you start iterating and having fun with it, all that's out the window. And then it's suddenly, okay, how do we systemize this? How do we make us into a content machine? How do we make it all happen at exactly the same time so we know exactly how to get it out the door and we're only thinking about creative ideas? And that I think has really helped. So the overarching theme that's the theme, but the overarching thing that people are aiming for, that we talk to and why they come to us, is that they want quantity and they want it to be at a certain quality and they want it at speed, right? So if you think about that amazing triangle, you can either have it, what is it, good, fast, or cheap. You know, you can only have two of those. This is different because if you do embrace innovation, and there's a lot of great products and ways of doing things, that means you can actually work at speed. The thing there is that people get so hung up on the idea of quality being the idea of production quality versus quality of communication. And now quality of communication is totally devoid of production value, right? So we're shooting on an $800 camera and we're doing a talk and we're going to show it to some people and there'll be a few hundred people who have a look at it. Doesn't matter. I could have hired a film crew and we could have a nice big F7 and all those special microphones. I'm recording the audio on my phone here. You know, it doesn't matter as long as the message. So I'm just hoping that my message is of interest, right? You can all attack me afterwards if it's boring. And the idea there is that the quality is quality of message, not quality of production. And so many people get all jumbled up of going, it won't look as good as that video that I saw, that product video from that company that spent heaps of money and ages, and my brain's eroded because we shot it on an iPhone and da-da-da. And you go, that makes sense to a degree, depending on where that content is going to go and what that content is doing. So there's a lot of talk about the hero hub and hygiene content. So the hero stuff is really, you might make one piece a quarter, which is heroic. It's a brand-led piece. It's really just, where do you live in the world as a brand, as a company? What are you trying to do for the world? And you go all the way down to the bottom end, which is hygiene, which is you might react to something instantly, shoot it, release it on the same day. And the quality of production has nothing to do with it, other than the context of the audience and what they're expecting. But it's the quality of the message. And so if you're getting your message right, and if you've, say, media trained to a degree, the people in your company, so anyone in your company can be on camera and not be freaked out and have an idea of how to talk and be authentic and human, then you're able to get the quantity, because you're able to produce a lot of it yourself. You're able to hire other companies that can do the next level, and you can hire agencies to do the top level. You can do that, and you can do it at speed, which means you have a range of stuff coming out, which means you have a thread that people can follow. The thread doesn't mean that everything is the same style of video that they're following. They might go and watch your $500,000 brand piece and then come down and watch 5 internal funny videos about this thing you're about to do, and then they watch a thought leadership piece where someone's doing a talk and you disagree, and then it goes back to a brand piece, and they just want to follow along with what your company's up to. And then that's the piece. There's a thread. They can come in, they know there's something new, they can search you, and they know there'll be something new every time they look for you. So all of a sudden they're creating a new habit, which is go and look for that company. They might go to Instagram, they might go to Facebook, they might go to YouTube, they might just Google you and see what comes up first. But you're ending up with this plethora of content that is just all over the internet that has a theme to it, which has a thread, and that the audience is able to stay with you. As soon as you have less and less of it, or you have 5 things and there's no plan behind it, there's nothing to find, there's no thread. So the 4 things that I would ask everyone to think deeply about. Are you becoming a content machine? Are you systemizing how you work? I know the production companies in this room are already content machines. They're well-oiled machines who are able to produce content at speed and get the production quality up there for that certain type of content. Are you outcomes focused? As soon as you're thinking outcomes focused, you stop thinking about production quality, because you just go, well, what's the outcome? And then all of a sudden you have to ask yourself really hard questions. Like, what is actually the outcome that I'm looking for? Is it 15 likes? Is it 27 new customers? Is it that the brand equity goes up and the valuation of the shares goes? There's many things. What is the outcome and how we're going to get there? I want to tie to outcomes focused is also timing. People are just so hung up on, we did all this stuff within a month and there was no ROI, so we're going to stop. And you're like, no, do it for 12 months and then come and tell me it didn't work. Do it for 24 months and then come and tell me it didn't work, right? It's hard, but that's literally what you have to do. Iterative process, that reduces the fear, it reduces all the anxiety. You just put something out, feedback, put it out, feedback, put it out, feedback, and learn, and it reduces the stress. And then the audience retention is the thread. So I haven't put the thread anywhere in this whole thing because the thread should just be inherent now. I've said it like 72 times, I think, in this talk. Audience retention is all you're looking for over time. First of all, you need to get them. You have to get the huge steel wheel going. You have to get them. You might have to over-invest to get them. And then when that big steel wheel is going, you're just tapping it and it keeps going, right? And that's the thing. Audience retention, thread, constant contact with them through content. So that's what I wanted to leave you with. Those are the things that have been bubbling up when we talk to customers across the world, and this is how brands and media companies and production companies and everyone is thinking about how do we become a media company, or how do we help our customers become a media company. Okay, thank you for listening.
How are your customers becoming media companies?
That's a good question. I mean, Rolla did a great job is really framing that up, that brands do need to become media companies. And that Hero Hub hygiene model has been really important in a lot of conversations that we're having. And I think even educating brands in that sort of space, I think a lot of their experience has been creating content more at that top tier level. And so they've been a little bit restricted there because they can only really do it, maybe it's a couple of times a year, 3 or 4 times a year, and understanding the need to produce content on an ongoing basis. So that hub content, that's really where that thread comes through that Rolla mentioned. It's the episodic content for brands that they're putting out on a regular basis, but then even the tier down from that, where you're talking about your hygiene or your help content. And that's a really cool space, because that's where brands need to be creating content all the time. And you can get a little bit more granular in that space, creating content around specific needs or even search terms as well. So that you really are, you're that point of reference that comes up when people are searching for specific things on the internet.
Chief Digital Officer at Tyres For You. We're traditionally a tyre wholesale business. Fortunate to work in one of the most exciting and innovative verticals available. It's amazing. I wish, I have so much sympathy for my friends in fashion and whatnot who have a hard time getting people interested in their products. We literally sell tyres for everything except for aeroplanes and motorbikes. So mining equipment, cranes, trucks, tractors, cars, everything. And we recently entered the retail space. So for us, there's a huge amount of internal learning that's going on because the mindset of a wholesaler is significantly different from that of a retailer. And the kind of stories you tell and who you tell them to change massively.
Yeah, so I asked Dan to come and be on the panel for us because this guy's just heading out with video and he's got some recommendations, the Hub Hero Hub hygiene advice, and this is a brand that's trying to do that stuff, trying to take that advice and run with it. So I wanted someone to share your pain. And so, Dan, my first question for you is
to the cross.
What are you seeing as the challenges to creating more content and becoming a media?
Sure. Well, look, I think one of the things that Chad already touched on, particularly for a business like ours, is that internal mental shift of starting to understand your business as a media company. And working even in digital or marketing or whatever, you're more aware of it than the business as a whole. We've been around for nearly 30 years. We're a well-established, traditionally quite strong business. Trying to explain to our CEO, who's been with us for 20-odd years of that 30, that we need to think of ourselves as a media company now is insane. His entire career has been built on, the price of rubber in Indonesia this year is going up 4 cents a barrel. It's a very different way of thinking about what your business is. It's a very different process even at the wholesale level, where for 30 odd years we've gone door to door and met with independent tyre dealers and gone, we've got this amazing product range, you need our staff. And now we've got generations of new business owners who've never worked in the industry before and are doing what any normal person would do, pulling out their phone and using Google. 2 of our company's largest customers, one in North Queensland and one in Western Australia, don't have computers. We're dealing with a massive change in the concept of who we are, who we're talking to, and what we have to say to them. So that's definitely our biggest challenge.
So video is not going to be great for those guys.
Not going to be great for those guys, no. Flipbooks. It's all flipbooks. Well, what I've started doing is asking them about their kids or grandkids. Is there a 9-year-old in the room that can explain it to you? Very good. Yeah, we'll sort it out.
Awesome. What do you see as the solution then to some of these challenges for your organisation?
Look, for us, we cover quite a breadth of product range and potential customers, so it's really about narrowing down, getting specific in each area. So even in the retail space, which is a little more accessible and certainly much more open to what we're talking about today, we have a young inner city person fresh out of university, say mid-20s, owns their car, and but mostly just drives to and from work, versus someone same age, same demographic, but lives in, say, Dubbo, and works on a farm and drives a ute. 2 different conversations, 2 different concepts of what you'll need to do with your vehicle, your tyres, and so on. And so it's about getting really specific into those sort of niches for us and targeting them. And then what Rollo was talking about, like iterating. And I think that's the other challenge for us, is that there's this concept around video in particular as being, that hero piece where it's the big budget, expensive, full production, and hence my joke earlier about moving away from motorsport type stuff, which, the company is, they're all tyre nerds. They love racing cars and burning rubber, and they don't get that your audience doesn't necessarily share that passion. But you also don't have to do that multi-camera, track day, thousands of dollars, type production. You can pull out a phone, shoot a video in a store where with so-and-so, what did you learn about braking distances today with what we did or whatever, And so starting to get into, I think for us, going to Rollo's talk, the transition to content machine, that's a really great way of putting where I've sort of been trying to move our business model towards. That frequency of content that is consistent and reliable and quality of message. It's a great way to frame it.
Great, thanks Dan. Thanks guys for being on the first Whips to Luncheon panel. Should we give them a hand?
From a content perspective, we obviously have a challenge nationally with a brand strategy that's very localised to produce content on a scale that is still reflective of the individual demographics. So we do that through clustering centres together, pooling money, providing assets in a way that it's raw, that centres can overlay their individual brand, their tone of voice. But the way we get that through senior leaders is definitely challenging. We have predominantly males on our senior leadership team that don't shop. So even telling them that, this is the best pair of shoes for the season, they're like, whoa, that's just too far for them. So again, it's around proving ROI. everything is measured through traffic to our centre stores and sales. So, Google is at that point now where you can see peak times on Google. Service New South Wales recently came out and said they're shutting down their stores because no one visits after 5, and Google, SMH I think picked it up and said, well, actually Google, if you just Google New South Wales service, shows that peak period is actually at 7 o'clock, so that's not true at all, and that's public information. So certainly from our perspective, once that is unlocked in the GA space and we can start measuring marketing activities and that resulting in footfall and then sales, is definitely going to be that breakage of friction point that will allow us to get more funding.
Right. So that's what we're talking about, is just simply showing the ROI through data.
Yep, data, delivering returns and getting more resources. Like 2 of us can't produce, mountains of content on a daily, monthly basis. Yeah.
All right. And so, from your perspective, what's the biggest challenge? What's holding you back from being the international media company you could be?
Well, once again, very, very similar. I feel like you've said everything, but it's very similar challenges, and I think it always comes down to resource. We actually have 40 hotels, and each of them have marketing teams of 1 to 5 people. But in our corporate marketing team, it's 4 people, and sometimes we're trying to consolidate all the content and trying to use it not just for one hotel, but maybe hotels around Sydney, they can share the content. So we're always trying to, first of all, we have to reach out to them manually. We're trying to find those synergies and consolidate it all, but I think there's definitely a more efficient way of doing it, and this year is our unleashing the beast year. So we just gone, content's important, video is important, go do it, and we want them to find their own style and way of doing it. But it means that consistency is a problem, distribution, finding the right channels to do that is a problem, and obviously getting all the stakeholders on the journey is always a big exercise. We have to, we've allowed them to go ahead and do it because I think luckily the Intercontinental Hotel Group is very progressive and they're open to new things, but you have to have a pilot and you have to have a proof and you have to have data to back it up.
Thanks everyone for coming along. Roller, great talk. Thanks to all our panelists. But no, thank you very much. Big round of applause for everyone here.
So we've just done a lunch and learn, the inaugural lunch and learn in Sydney, done at the QT Hotel. We had about 30 people in the room. The feedback that we were getting from people was that the event felt really authentic, that we were very real, that we weren't trying to preach about anything, we weren't trying to sell anything, which was our absolute intention. I mean, the intention with these events is that you come away with new enthusiasm and vigor for what you're trying to do. Another key takeaway we're trying to do was to get people to feel like they all have the same problem and they're all just trying to save themselves from the same issues, and that they're trying to reduce the stress about the idea that I've got this problem and no one else does, and try to create a bit of a network of people in the room who can help each other. What else could I have done? That feeling when you think that maybe it was all worth it. Boys, how are we feeling?
Oh mate, so stoked. So stoked. I mean, we're like, the energy is right around here. There's just been
it's up there. What a great day.
Yeah. A bit Ori. We've done it. We've done Sydney at the airport. I'm just about to have a celebratory beer after doing the best lunch and learn this world has ever seen. And then we're back in New Zealand. Going to arrive at midnight. Devastating news. the guys get into the lounge up there. We were trying to schmangle 3 of us and only 2 get in, so I'm left like the lemon down here having a beer by myself. So cheers guys.